"Look where you're walking, you idiot." My sister screamed that while I was still on the floor because 30 seconds earlier, she had shoved me down 4 steps at her own maternity party. My mother stood nearby, coffee in hand, and sighed. "You always create drama just to be the center of attention." I stood up. I dusted off my dress. I didn't say a word. I walked to my car and drove away. What none of those guests knew was that my name, not my sister's, was on the catering contract. Around 3 p.m., when she walked up to settle the bill, the caterer opened a folder on his table and asked for the account holder to step forward. 47 people watched her face go white. 5 of them called me before she made it back inside. Before I go on, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story speaks to you. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Now let me take you back to the afternoon. My sister sat across from me in tears and said, "You're the only one who has ever believed in me." That was the day I put my name on the catering contract. The coffee shop was one of those overpriced places with exposed brick and plants hanging from macrame holders. I was nursing an oat milk latte I didn't want, watching my sister Chloe cry into a stack of napkins. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I had taken a half day from the accounting firm to meet her. I always took half days for Chloe. "Heather cut his hours," Chloe said, her voice cracking. 40%, we can't make rent next month, let alone." She pressed her hand to her stomach, 6 months along. She'd announced the pregnancy at my birthday dinner 3 months ago, turning my cake into her gender reveal. I'd smiled then, I always smiled. "Mom and Dad can't help either," Chloe continued. "Dad's medication is so expensive now, and Mom's still paying off that cruise they took." I set my cup down. "What do you need?" "The maternity party." She looked up at me with those eyes, our mother's eyes, wide and calculating even through the tears. "I already sent the invitations. 47 people. The venue is free, Heather's parents' backyard, but the catering." She named a number that made my jaw tighten. $4,000 for finger sandwiches and mocktails. "Chloe, I know it's a lot." She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her nails were freshly manicured, I noticed, a soft pink with tiny gold moons. "But Maya, you're the only one who has ever believed in me. Not Mom, not Dad, not even Heather sometimes. You." She squeezed my fingers. "I want my baby to know how amazing her aunt is. I want her to grow up hearing stories about how you made her welcome to the world party possible." I felt it then, that familiar hook. The one my family had been sharpening my entire life. I was 32, single, childless by choice, and financially stable. In the economy of our family, this made my money communal property. My time was flexible. My boundaries were suggestions. And my need for acknowledgement, that was just my jealousy showing. "You're not jealous, are you?" Chloe asked, reading my hesitation exactly wrong, or exactly right. "Because I know you wanted kids and it didn't work out, but this is your chance to be part of. I'm not jealous." The words came out sharp. I hated how defensive I sounded, how predictable. "I just think 4,000 is a lot for a party when you're struggling with rent." Chloe's face shifted. The tears dried up, not all at once, but like a faucet being slowly turned. "Fine, forget it. I'll cancel everything. I'll tell everyone my sister didn't think my baby was worth celebrating." She started gathering her things, designer bag, silk scarf, phone in a case that cost more than my first car. "Wait," I heard myself say it, I always said it. "Let me see the contract." The relief that flooded Chloe's face was so immediate, so theatrical, that I should have recognized it for performance. But I didn't. I was too busy feeling useful, needed. Finally, for once, the good daughter. We walked 3 blocks to the caterer's office, a storefront on Mercer Street with Marcus and Sons Event Dining painted on the window. Marcus himself met us, a man in his 50s with graying temples and the calm, assessing eyes of someone who had mediated 1,000 family disasters over past hors d'oeuvres. Chloe did most of the talking. The imported cheese display, the prime rib carving station, the custom mocktail menu with ingredients named after nursery rhymes. I watched the numbers climb and said nothing. When Marcus slid the contract across his desk, Chloe picked up the pen. "Actually," I said, "I'll sign." Chloe blinked. "What? The account needs to be in one name for liability purposes." This was true. I'd learned it from my firm's corporate events. And since I'm paying, it should be mine. For just a second, something flickered across Chloe's face. Something that wasn't gratitude. Then she smiled, all teeth and dimples, the smile that had gotten her out of chores and curfews and consequences since we were children. "Of course, whatever's easiest," I signed. Maya Chen in my careful accountant's handwriting. I put down my credit card number. I initialed the clause about final authorization requiring the account holder's signature before food service could commence. Marcus watched me with those steady eyes, then made a small notation on his copy. "Welcome to the family," Chloe said as we left, linking her arm through mine. "The baby's family, I mean. You're going to be such an important part of her life." I drove home that evening feeling lighter than I had in months. I called my mother to share the news that I was helping, that I was generous, that I was finally doing enough to belong. "That's nice, Maya," Mom said. "But did you have to make Chloe feel bad about not signing herself? She told me you insisted on controlling everything." I sat in my darkened kitchen, the phone pressed to my ear, and felt the familiar shape of my family's love. Conditional, reversible, always, always my fault. The planning began the next morning with a text from Chloe at 6:47 a.m., a screenshot of a menu upgrade, Wagyu beef sliders instead of the standard beef tenderloin, an additional $600. I stared at my phone in the bathroom mirror, toothbrush still in my mouth. I typed back, "The contract is signed." We agreed on the prime rib. Her response came before I could spit, "But Maya, the sliders are so much more Instagram-worthy." Heather's sister had them at her shower and everyone talked about it for weeks. "Don't you want people to remember this party?" I wanted to type, "I want people to remember that I paid for it." Instead, I wrote, "Let's discuss tonight." The discussion never happened. By the time I called at 7 p.m., Chloe had already spoken to our mother. Maya. Mom's voice on the other end, that particular sigh she deployed when disappointed. "She is carrying your niece, your first niece. Stop making her stress about pennies." "Mom, it's not pennies, it's, do you know what stress does to a pregnancy? I read an article, preterm labor, low birth weight." A pause, the sound of her taking a sip of something. "Your sister cried for an hour after your text, an hour. She said you made her feel greedy for wanting something nice for her baby." I gripped my phone. "I already agreed to $4,000. I'm not being stingy, I'm being practical." Mom said the word like it was a disease. "Always practical, Maya, always counting. Meanwhile, your sister is creating life and you're creating spreadsheets." In the background, I heard my father's voice, muffled, appeasing. "Just do what they want, Maya, keep the peace." He'd been saying that my whole life. When Chloe took my prom dress without asking and spilled wine on it. When she borrowed my college graduation money for a trip to Cancun. When she announced her engagement at my promotion dinner. "Keep the peace, Maya. Don't make waves. She's sensitive. You're strong." "Fine," I said. "The sliders." I heard the smile in Mom's voice. "I knew you'd come around. You're a good sister. You just need reminding sometimes." The upgrades continued. Custom mocktail syrups shipped from Oregon. A dessert display with imported chocolate. Linen napkins instead of the standard polyester. "Because photos," Chloe explained. Each time I pushed back, the machinery engaged. Mom's calls, Dad's sighs, Chloe's tears. I watched my credit card statements accumulate like evidence in a trial I was losing against myself. 3 weeks before the party, I tried one more time. I drove to my parents' house, the house where I'd grown up, where Chloe still had her childhood bedroom preserved like a museum while my old room had been converted to Mom's craft space. I found Chloe on the porch swing, scrolling through her phone. "I need to talk about the budget," I said. She didn't look up. We're at 6,000 now. The original contract was 4. I can't. She finally raised her eyes. Or won't. She set her phone down, screen up. A photo of her and Mom at a spa day last weekend. Facials, the caption read, "Pre-baby pampering with my best girl. I hadn't been invited, I never was. Maya, I don't think you understand what this party means to me." Chloe's voice went soft, the way it did before the hook. "Growing up, you were always the smart one, the successful one. I was just pretty popular. But now, this baby is my chance to be more than that, to show everyone I'm a good mother, a provider." She touched her stomach again, the gesture so practiced it looked choreographed. "And you're helping me do that. You're giving me that gift." I felt it working on me, the flattery, the framing of my financial sacrifice as emotional generosity, the promise that this time, finally, my contribution would be seen. "Just the mocktails," I heard myself say. "No more after that." She hugged me. She smelled like the expensive lotion Mom bought her every Christmas, the same scent I'd learned to stop wanting. The morning of the party, I arrived at Heather's parents' house at 9 a.m. The backyard was already transformed, white tents, string lights, a wooden dance floor that hadn't been there yesterday. Chloe had mentioned a few rentals, but this looked like a wedding venue. I made a mental note to check my credit card for damaged deposits. Marcus was directing his staff near the kitchen tent when he saw me. He gave a small nod, professional, not warm. I appreciated that. In my family, warmth always came with a price. "Ms. Chen," he said, approaching with a clipboard, "we're set for noon service. Final headcount is 47. I'll need you for the authorization signature at 2:45 before we open the chafing dishes." Of course. I took the clipboard, reviewed the setup checklist. "Everything looks good, Marcus, thank you." He hesitated. "Your sister arrived an hour ago. She's been directing." I found Chloe in the main tent, reclining on a velvet settee that definitely wasn't in the rental agreement. She was wearing a cream-colored dress that flowed over her belly, hair arranged in loose waves, makeup perfect at 9:15 in the morning. "Maya, finally!" She didn't stand. "The favor boxes need to be arranged on the gift table, and the photographer wants someone to move those planters. They're blocking her light." I looked at the planters. Heavy ceramic, at least 40 pounds each. "Chloe, I'm in heels." "So take them off." She smiled, sweet as poison. "You're the only one here, Maya. Everyone else is getting ready." I spent the next 2 hours as hired labor, carrying boxes, moving furniture, adjusting tablecloths while Chloe critiqued the drape from her settee. Mom arrived at 10:30, took one look at me sweating in my silk blouse and said, "You should have worn something more practical. This is why Chloe plans and you execute." At 11:15, the photographer, a young woman with a Canon around her neck, suggested a family photo before guests arrived. Mom gathered Chloe, Dad, and herself near the magnolia tree. I started toward them. "Oh, Maya," Mom's hand came up, palm out. "Not in that dress. The coral clashes with Chloe's cream. It'll ruin the aesthetic." I stopped. "I can stand in the back or change my. Just take the photo, honey. We'll do one with you later." They never did. I watched from the tent entrance as they posed, Dad's arm around Mom, Mom's hand on Chloe's belly, everyone smiling at a future that didn't include me. The photographer took 37 shots. I counted. When I turned away, I found Marcus standing beside me holding 2 glasses of water. He handed me one. "Hot day," he said. "Yes, your family." He paused, choosing words with the same care he probably used for seating charts. They have a particular dynamic. I drank the water. It tasted like resignation. The guests began arriving at 11:45. Chloe transformed, the tears and demands of the morning replaced by gracious hostess mode. She greeted each person at the decorated archway, pressing gift bags into their hands, accepting compliments on her party with modest deflections that somehow emphasized her generosity. "Chloe, this is stunning," her friend from yoga exclaimed. "The cheese display alone must have cost a fortune. We wanted to do it right." Chloe touched her belly. "Our little girl deserves the best start." I stood near the beverage station, refilling ice buckets when Marcus's staff got busy. Mom found me there, frowning. "You're hovering, Maya, go mingle. I don't know half these people. Then introduce yourself as Chloe's sister." She said it like a role I was auditioning for. "Be helpful, not present." I tried. I fetched drinks for Chloe's college friends while they compared pregnancy apps. I collected empty plates from Chloe's in-laws while they discussed their real estate portfolio. I listened to Chloe's neighbor describe the amazing imported chocolate. Chloe told us she spared no expense for this baby and smiled until my face ached. At 12:30, I attempted to join a conversation near the gift table. Chloe's friend from work was showing off her own maternity photos. "You should see the photographer Chloe found," the woman said. "So artistic." "So expensive, but worth it, right, Chloe?" Chloe laughed, musical and light. "We decided early that this baby would have everything we never did." I stepped forward. "Actually, the photographer was Maya." Chloe's voice cut through mine like a knife through cake. "Could you check on the cake display? The fondant looked sweaty." I went. Of course I went. The fondant was fine. When I returned, the conversation had moved on, and my place in it had closed like a door. By 1:30, the party had settled into its rhythm. Chloe held court on her velvet settee, receiving guests like a minor deity. The imported cheese, which I had paid for, which I had watched Marcus's staff arrange at 6 a.m., was presented on slate boards with handwritten cards describing their provenance. "Chloe thought of everything," I heard someone say. "So detail-oriented." I was on my 4th trip to the kitchen tent, carrying a tray of used champagne flutes when I passed the main table. Chloe's mother-in-law, Heather's mother, was holding forth about the prime rib. "Such quality," she said, patting Chloe's hand. "You and Heather have really built something wonderful. This is what happens when young people plan ahead, save, make good choices." Chloe smiled, demure. "We wanted to show our gratitude to everyone who supported us." I set the tray down harder than necessary. A flute tipped, rolled, didn't break. No one noticed. I was furniture. Expensive, functional, invisible furniture. Mom found me at the dessert display, rearranging macarons that didn't need rearranging. She had her coffee cup, the special one with the peonies, brought from home, and that look she got when preparing to deliver instruction. "Your sister's friends are asking about your dating life," she said. "I told them you're focusing on your career, but maybe you could mention that new app you're trying, the one for professionals." "Mom, I don't stay mysterious." She sipped her coffee. "Though people do wonder." 32, no prospects, all that money and no one to spend it on. She laughed, the sound she used at church socials. "Thank God for Chloe's baby. You'll be an aunt. That'll give you something." I looked at her. Really looked. The careful makeup, the maintained highlights, the coffee cup she'd specifically chosen for this event. My mother, who had never once asked about my promotion to senior accountant, who had forgotten my birthday last year until Chloe reminded her, who was standing in a backyard party I was funding, explaining my inadequacy to me in the same tone she used for weather observations. "Marcus needs me," I said and walked away. He didn't need me. He was supervising the final plating preparations, checking temperatures, directing his staff with economical gestures. but he looked up when I entered the tent, and something in my face must have shown. "Ms. Chen." He handed me a glass of water I hadn't asked for. "You know my contract is with you, right? I signed it. I mean," he glanced toward the tent flap where Chloe's laughter carried clearly. "I only answer to the name on the paper. Final authorization, payment release, liability waiver, all you." He held my gaze for a moment, steady and uninflected. "Sometimes people forget who hired whom, I don't." I drank the water. It tasted different this time, not resignation, something sharper. Clarity, maybe, or the beginning of it. "I'll be here at 2:45, I said. "I know you will." I went back out into the party. Chloe had moved to the deck stairs, posing for photos with her college friends. They were doing a bump comparison, Chloe's 6-month belly against her friend's 4-month, laughing, touching each other's stomachs with the casual intimacy I had never been invited to share. I needed a napkin. The cocktail napkins were on a table near the stairs, and I started up the 4 steps to reach them. Chloe saw me coming. I saw her see me, the slight narrowing of her eyes, the quick assessment of whether I was interrupting her moment. I wasn't. I was 4 feet away, reaching for paper goods, invisible as I'd been trained to be. But Chloe was turning, positioning, her friend calling out, "Wait, Chloe, the light," and Chloe's hand came up. Not a push exactly, more a dismissal, a swatting away of something inconvenient in her frame. Her palm hit my shoulder. I was off balance on stairs, in heels I'd worn because Mom said my practical flats looked frumpy. I felt myself go backward, felt the steps hit my back, my hip, my knee. 4 steps. I counted them on the way down. I landed on the grass. Hard, my dress, the coral dress that clashed, rode up, exposed my thigh, my dignity. For 1 second the party stopped. 47 faces turned. 47 people watched Maya Chen fall out of her sister's photograph. Then Chloe laughed. "Look where you're walking, you idiot." She didn't come down the stairs. She turned back to her friends, already resuming the pose, the smile, the moment I had interrupted. I sat up. My knee was bleeding, a small scrape, nothing. My hip would bruise. My hands were shaking, but only a little. Mom appeared above me, coffee still in hand. She looked at me the way she looked at rain on party days, inconvenience, poor timing, someone else's problem. "You always create drama just to be the center of attention." Dad was behind her. I saw him see me. Saw his eyes drop to his shoes, his body turn toward the grill, his choice made in silence. As it always was, I stood up. I dusted off my dress, the coral dress, the wrong dress, my dress. I didn't look at Chloe, didn't look at Mom. I looked at Marcus, standing near the kitchen tent, watching with his steady caterer's eyes. I gave him one nod. Firm. Final. Then I walked to my car and I drove away. My phone started ringing before I reached the stop sign at Maple and Birch. Mom's photo on the screen, her at a garden party, champagne glass raised, smile practiced. I let it ring. It rang again at the stoplight and again as I merged onto the highway, 3 times in 4 minutes. Then the text started. "You need to come back and apologize to your sister. She is pregnant, Maya. Pregnant women don't need stress like this." I was in the middle lane, doing 65, watching the road with a focus that felt borrowed from somewhere else. Some other Maya who knew how to drive while her family disintegrated in her pocket. The second text arrived. "Your father is upset. You ruined her photos. Do you know how long she planned those?" I thought of Dad turning away. The grill. His shoes. I didn't reply. The third text was longer, the thumb-typed fury of someone who had never been told no. "I knew you were jealous, but this is a new low." Using your money to control her party and then throwing a tantrum when you're not the star. Everyone saw. Everyone knows what kind of sister you are. I pulled into a rest stop. Not because I needed to stop, but because I needed to not be moving when I made the call. Marcus answered on the second ring. "Ms. Chen." "Marcus." My voice was steady. I was proud of that. "I need you to lock down the food." A pause, the sound of his clipboard being set down. Lock down. Refuse the final authorization. Pack up. The contract requires my signature to release liability and commence service, correct? It does. Then I'm not signing. Another pause, longer. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, not warmer, but more present. Your sister is expecting 47 guests to be fed in approximately 90 minutes. I know. Your mother has already approached me twice about the help needing to stay in their place. I know that too. Ms. Chen. He said my name carefully, like it was a line item he was checking. If I pack up, there is no food, no refunds, the deposit is forfeited, your name remains on the contract as the unpaid balance. I understand. And your family, my family, I said, will have exactly what they paid for. Silence. Then, I'll need that in writing, text, or email for my records. You'll have it in 5 minutes. I sent the email from the rest stop parking lot, thumbs steady on the screen. To Marcus and Sons Event Dining. Effective immediately, I am withholding final authorization for food service at the Chen maternity party. Please cease all preparations, secure all perishables, and remove your equipment from the premises. This instruction supersedes any verbal agreements made by other parties. Signed, Maya Chen, sole account holder. I copied myself. I forwarded it to my work email. I took a screenshot and saved it to 3 folders. Then I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb. Not off, I wanted to see the notifications accumulate, the desperate math of their realization building in real time. But I didn't want to hear them. I wanted silence. I drove home. My house, the townhouse I'd bought at 29, the first place that had ever been truly mine, had never looked so right. The quiet street. The neighbor's dog barking once, then stopping. The key in my hand, the lock turning, the door closing behind me with a sound like punctuation. I made tea. Chamomile from the tin on the counter. I sat on my couch, the gray one I'd chosen without consulting anyone, that no one had ever sat on except me, and I waited. At 2:47 p.m., my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then a text from a name I didn't recognize. Maya, it's cousin Jennifer. I was at the party. What happened? The caterers are packing up and Chloe's crying and no one will tell us what's going on. I didn't answer. At 3:12 p.m., 5 calls in rapid succession. Mom, Dad, Mom again, a number I didn't know, Mom a third time. Then the texts started arriving from people who had been there, witnesses to whatever was unfolding in that backyard without me. Maya, it's Aunt Patricia. I saw what happened on the stairs. I'm sorry I didn't say anything. Maya, this is David from accounting. My wife was at your sister's party. She said you left and then the food never came. Are you okay? Maya, it's Jennifer again. People are leaving. Chloe's telling everyone you sabotaged her. But I saw her push you. I saw it. Maya, it's Mom. Answer your phone. You have ruined this family. You have humiliated your pregnant sister. I will never forgive this. I read them all. I answered none. The tea grew cold and I didn't mind. At 3:45 p.m., the 5th call from someone who mattered. Cousin Robert, Mom's sister's son, the only relative who had ever remembered my birthday without Facebook's help. I picked up. Maya. Robert. I was there. His voice was careful, the way people get when they've seen something they can't unsee. I saw Chloe push you, I saw you leave, and I saw, he paused. I saw your mother stand there with her coffee and do nothing. I said nothing. The caterer, Robert continued. He asked for the account holder. Chloe tried to say it was her party, her name, everything. He opened his folder and showed her the contract. Your name, Maya. Only your name. She turned white. I've never seen anyone turn that color. Still, I said nothing. 5 of us called you before she even made it back inside. Patricia, me, David from your office, Jennifer, and Heather's brother. He saw the whole thing from the grill. We're not on their side, Maya. I need you to know that. I looked at my tea. The cold surface, the settled leaves. Thank you, Robert. Are you okay? I considered the question, really considered it the way I considered depreciation schedules and tax liabilities. Was I okay? I will be, I said. I'm not paying for that party, Robert. I'm not paying for any more parties. I'm not paying to be treated like furniture and then blamed for the upholstery. I know. He was quiet for a moment. I just wanted you to know someone saw. Someone believes you. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my house. The notifications continued, Mom's escalating fury, Dad's single text, please call, Chloe's voice memo that I deleted without listening. But underneath them, the other messages, the witnesses, the 5 who had seen and chosen to tell me. It wasn't enough. It wasn't justice or reconciliation or even understanding. But it was something I had never had before, proof that my experience was real. That I wasn't crazy, wasn't dramatic, wasn't the villain of my own story. I poured the cold tea into the sink. I made another cup. I sat back down on my gray couch in my quiet house, and for the first time in 32 years, I felt the shape of a life that belonged entirely to me. The afternoon settled into evening. I ate dinner, simple, pasta with butter, no one to impress, and watched my phone accumulate evidence of their panic. At 5:23 p.m., Mom switched tactics. The text stopped demanding and started pleading. Maya, please, the caterers have taken everything. People left hungry. Chloe is inconsolable. Just pay the invoice and we can fix this. No one needs to know. I read it 3 times. The no one needs to know was what stuck, the same logic that had governed my entire childhood. Hide the dysfunction, protect the image, make Maya absorb the cost and the blame and the silence. I didn't reply. At 6:15 p.m., Dad called. I answered, curious what he would say after his performance by the grill. Maya. His voice was hoarse, unfamiliar. Your mother wants me to tell you that we're disappointed. Are you? A pause. I'm confused. You've always been the one who handles things, who makes it work. I don't understand why you walked away after my sister pushed me downstairs and you watched. The silence stretched. I could hear his breathing, the television in the background, the life continuing in their house while mine had changed shape. I didn't know what to do, he said finally. You never do, Dad, that's the problem. I hung up, no goodbye. I was learning that I could do that now. At 7 p.m., I opened my laptop. I canceled the automatic transfer I had set up for Mom's birthday cruise payment, $3,000, scheduled for next month. I removed Chloe from my phone plan. I changed my Amazon password, which she had been using for 2 years. Small acts. Financial emancipation line by line. The doorbell rang at 8:30. I checked the peephole. Empty street. Then I saw it, a gift bag on my welcome mat, pink tissue paper, a card with Chloe's handwriting. Maya, I'm sorry. I was stressed and I overreacted. Please come to dinner tomorrow. Mom's making your favorite. We can fix this. I left the bag outside. I knew what was in it without looking. The performance of apology, the invitation back to the cycle. Stressed, overreacted, your favorite. The words that had brought me back 100 times before, not this time. I went to bed at 9:30, phone on Do Not Disturb, house locked, windows open to the cool night air. I slept better than I had in months. Sunday morning. I woke to 17 notifications and the sound of my neighbor's sprinkler. The notifications could wait. The sprinkler, that small, ordinary sound, demanded attention. I lay in bed and listened to it. Rhythm, predictability, something working as designed. My phone showed 3 voicemails. Mom, Dad, then Mom again. I deleted them without listening. The texts I scanned quickly, looking for patterns. Mom had moved through her stages overnight, pleading 9:47 p.m., threatening 11:15 p.m., your father and I are reconsidering your place in this family, and finally the wounded martyr 6:02 a.m., I hope you're proud. Your sister cried herself to sleep, on her big day. Chloe's messages were fewer but more strategic. A photo at 10:30 p.m., her in bed, mascara smeared, hand on her belly, the caption I wanted her to know her aunt loved her. Then at 7 a.m., Heather says I should lawyer up, that you breached contract or something, but I told him no. Family doesn't sue family. Right, Maya, the threat dressed as mercy. The hook I'd swallowed my entire life. I made coffee. I sat on my small balcony, 4 square feet of concrete I'd claimed as outdoor space, and I called Marcus. Ms. Chen. He answered on the first ring, professional as always. I wanted to reach out yesterday, but I wasn't sure of the protocol. How did it end? A pause, paper rustling. Your sister attempted to authorize payment with 3 different credit cards, all declined. Your mother offered a personal check, which we don't accept for events this scale. Your father. Another pause. Your father sat in his truck and didn't come out. And the food? Packed, donated to the women's shelter on Mercer Street per our standard policy for forfeited events. 47 meals plus the upgraded desserts. He said it without emphasis, but I heard it. The upgraded desserts, the imported chocolate, the mocktails with their nursery rhyme names. Your invoice shows a balance of $4,200. The deposit covers half. The remainder is due in 30 days or it goes to collections. In my name only. In your name only, Ms. Chen. I sipped my coffee. It was good coffee. I had bought it for myself with my own money and no one had told me what brand to choose. I'll pay it, Marcus, today, and then I'll be disputing the charges for the upgrades, the ones added after the initial contract without my written authorization. I have those records. I know you do. After I hung up, I transferred the payment. Then I opened a new document and began drafting my dispute letter to the credit card company, to Marcus's corporate office, to anyone who would listen. The upgrades Chloe had demanded. The pressure from my mother. The pattern of financial coercion dressed as family obligation. I wrote for an hour, precise and thorough, the way I prepared audit reports. At 10 a.m., my doorbell rang again. This time I saw who it was through the peephole, Aunt Patricia, Mom's sister, the one who had texted me yesterday. She was holding a casserole dish and wearing the expression of someone who had drawn the short straw. I opened the door. Maya, she thrust the dish forward. Tuna noodle, your mother asked me to come. I'm sure she did. Patricia didn't move to enter. She stood on my welcome mat, the one with the gift bag still sitting beside it, dew-covered now, the pink tissue darkening, and looked at me with something I couldn't name. Your sister told everyone you planned it, she said, that you wanted to humiliate her, that you threatened to cancel the food if she didn't make you maid of honor at the baby shower. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound surprised us both. Maid of honor at a baby shower. Your mother believed her. Of course she did. Patricia set the casserole down on my welcome mat next to the gift bag. She didn't try to hand it to me. I didn't believe her. I saw Chloe's face when she pushed you. I saw your mother's face when she didn't help you up. She straightened, adjusted her purse. I also saw your face when you left. You didn't look angry, Maya. You looked free. She turned and walked back to her car. I watched her go, the casserole cooling at my feet, the gift bag soggy with morning dew. 2 offerings, 2 traps. 2 versions of what family could mean. I left them both there. I went back inside, back to my dispute letter, back to the work of untangling myself from people who had never seen me clearly. At noon, the calls started again. Mom switching tactics once more. The wounded martyr had become the concerned parent. Maya, we're worried about you. This isn't like you. Please let us help. I read the text 3 times. Let us help. The same family that had watched me fall and blamed me for the impact. The same mother who had stood with her coffee and her disappointment. The same father who had checked the grill rather than check on me. I typed one response. I am helping myself. That's what's different. Then I blocked her number. Dad's too. Chloe's I had already removed from my contacts, her photo deleted, her ringtone silenced. The digital equivalent of changing the locks. The afternoon passed in productive silence. I finished my dispute letter. I called my bank to flag any unusual charges. I made an appointment with a therapist, the first in my life, for Wednesday evening. Small steps, boundaries as architecture, building something new from the foundation up. At 4 p.m., Robert texted, "Chloe's telling people you're having a breakdown, that the pressure of being single and childless finally got to you. She's saying you need help, Maya, professional help." I looked at my phone. I looked at my living room, the gray couch, the balcony door open to the sprinkler sound, the afternoon light falling across the floor in patterns I had chosen. I thought about professional help. I thought about the therapist appointment I just made, the one no one had forced me into, the one that was mine alone. I texted back, "She's right. I do need help, just not from her." Monday morning, I went to work. This sounds simple, but it wasn't. It was a declaration. The old Maya would have called in sick, spent the day fielding family crisis calls, apologizing for her absence from their drama. The new Maya put on her navy blazer, her comfortable flats, and rode the bus to the firm. My assistant, Denise, looked up when I walked in. "You okay? You missed the Henderson call on Friday." "I had a family event." I set my bag down, opened my laptop. "Anything urgent?" She hesitated. "Your sister left 3 messages, said it was an emergency." I looked at my desk phone, the blinking light indicating voicemail. "Not my emergency." Denise's eyebrows rose, but she didn't press. She'd worked for me 2 years. She knew my patterns, the Sunday evening emails, the half-days for Chloe, the calls taken during meetings with family flashing on the screen. She'd never seen me leave a family message unanswered. At 10:30, Marcus called my office line. "Ms. Chen, your mother came to our storefront this morning." I set down my pen. What did she want? "To speak with me privately, to explain that you were emotionally unstable and that any contract you signed should be considered invalid due to duress." His voice was flat, reporting facts. I told her I don't discuss client matters with third parties. She became persistent. "Did you call security?" "I didn't need to. Your Aunt Patricia was in the parking lot. She'd followed your mother. She recorded the entire interaction on her phone." A pause. "Ms. Chen, your family is more complicated than most of my events." "You have no idea." I worked through lunch. At 1:15, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but the preview showed my name. "Maya Chen, this is David Park from Mercer Street Legal. Your Aunt Patricia Chen has retained our firm regarding a matter involving your mother, Diane Chen, and sister, Chloe Chen. We believe you may have relevant information. Would you be available for a consultation?" I stared at the screen. Patricia, who had brought tuna noodle casserole. Patricia, who had said I looked free. I typed back, "Available Wednesday after 6 p.m. The afternoon brought the Henderson call, which I handled professionally, and 3 more texts from Robert. "Mom's telling people you stole from the family, that the catering money was supposed to be a gift to Chloe and you took it back. Then, Dad's not correcting her. He's just nodding at church, letting people think whatever. Then, I'm sorry. I shouldn't keep telling you this stuff, but someone should know the truth." I replied, "Keep telling me. I need to know what story I'm fighting." At 5:30, I packed up to leave. Denise stopped me at the door. "Your sister's here in the lobby. She's been waiting an hour." I felt it, the old pull, the trained response. Chloe was here. Chloe needed. I should go to her, soothe her, fix whatever was broken. Instead, I walked to the lobby. She was sitting in the corner chair, the one with the torn upholstery that no one chose. 6 months pregnant, wearing the same cream dress from Saturday, now wrinkled and stained at the hem. No makeup, hair pulled back in a ponytail that showed her roots. "Maya." She stood too fast, wobbled, caught herself on the chair arm. "You blocked me. You blocked Mom and Dad. How could you do that? How could you push me downstairs?" The lobby was empty except for us, the security guard at his desk pretending not to listen. Chloe's face crumpled, the expression I knew, the one that had worked on me since childhood. I didn't mean to. I was turning and you were there, and you called me an idiot while I was on the ground. I was embarrassed. Everyone was looking and you were making a scene, and I was making a scene. I said it slowly, testing the words. By falling, after you pushed me. Chloe's hands went to her belly, the protective gesture she'd perfected. The baby. Maya, think about the baby, the stress you're putting on all of us, the baby you're using to excuse everything, the baby who will grow up watching her mother manipulate and bully and then cry victim when consequences arrive. Chloe stepped back. Actually stepped back as if I'd pushed her. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I've paid for your life since I was 22. Your apartments, your cars, your weddings, your parties. And every time I asked for respect, I was jealous, selfish, dramatic. I picked up my bag, adjusted my blazer. I'm done, Chloe. The catering bill is paid. The dispute for the upgrades is filed, and I will never, ever fund another event where I'm treated like staff. You can't, she reached for my arm. I stepped away. I am. Goodbye, Chloe. I walked past her through the revolving door onto the street. She didn't follow. I didn't look back. At home, I found the casserole and gift bag still on my welcome mat. I threw them away, the casserole unopened, the gift bag with its soggy card and whatever performative apology it contained. Then I sat on my gray couch and I cried. Not for them, for me. For the years I'd spent believing that love was something I could purchase by the event, by the upgrade, by the emergency. My phone buzzed. David Park, the lawyer, Wednesday 6:30 p.m. works. We'll discuss your mother's attempt to interfere with a legal contract and potential elder financial exploitation concerns regarding your grandmother's assets. Patricia has documentation. I dried my face. I made tea. I opened my laptop and began organizing my records, every payment, every text, every coerced upgrade. Evidence of a life spent funding my own exclusion. At 9 p.m., I received one final text, not from Mom or Dad or Chloe, from Marcus, of all people. Your sister came to the storefront again, with your mother. They demanded I refund the deposit to them directly, claiming you were mentally unfit. I showed them the door. I also showed them the security footage from Saturday, your fall there in action. They left quickly. I stared at the screen. Then I typed back, "Why are you telling me this?" His response came slowly, "Because I watched you sign that contract. I watched you take responsibility, and I watched them take everything else. Someone should tell you that was seen too." I sat with that. The symmetry of it, Marcus seeing me, finally, the way I'd always wanted to be seen. Not as generous or accommodating or strong enough to handle it, just as a person who had been wronged and who was choosing to stop. I typed back, "Thank you, Marcus, for everything." He replied, "Thank yourself, Ms. Chen. You're the one who walked away." Wednesday evening. I sat in David Park's conference room, glass table, leather chairs, the hum of downtown traffic 14 floors below, and listened to Patricia explain what she had seen. "Your grandmother's house," she said, spreading documents across the table. "Diane and Gerald have been paying the property taxes from your mother's account for 15 years. They told Ruth it was a family arrangement. But the deed is still in Ruth's name, always has been." I looked at the property records, the dates, the signatures. They're trying to take her house. They're trying to establish a pattern of financial support that would support a claim of ownership, or at least lifetime residency for Chloe. Patricia's voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "Ruth called me last month. She asked me to find the original deed. She said she'd been waiting for the right moment to set things straight." I thought of Ruth, my grandmother, the only one who had ever sent me birthday cards without reminding me what they cost. She had been quiet at family gatherings, observant, present without demanding. I had assumed she was passive. I was learning that silence and passivity are not the same. Why now? I asked. Patricia looked at David, who nodded. Your mother's attempt to interfere with the catering contract, he said. It established a pattern. Diane Chen believes that any financial transaction involving family members can be overridden by her authority. Ruth sees where this leads, for her house, for her legacy, for you. Ruth asked specifically about you, Maya, whether you were still paying for everything. When I told her what happened at the party, she said. Patricia paused, reached into her bag, pulled out a small tape recorder. I have her permission to play this. The voice that emerged was thin but clear. 82 years of Georgia summers and filtered cigarettes. Tell Maya I saw her leave. I saw her not come back. That's the first time anyone in this family has ever done that, left without being thrown. She's stronger than I was, stronger than Patricia, stronger than me, and I want her to know the house is hers when I'm gone, not Chloe's, not Diane's, hers, because she's the only one who ever paid for it with her own life. I sat in the leather chair and felt the words settle, not victory, not satisfaction, something heavier, recognition maybe, that my grandmother had seen me all along from her quiet corner waiting for me to see myself. David cleared his throat. We can establish a trust. Protect the transfer from any claims by your parents or sister. Ruth would retain lifetime residency, but the property would pass to you exclusively. And if I don't want it? They both looked at me. Patricia spoke first. Then sell it. Give it away. Burn it down. But don't let them take it from her while she's living, and don't let them guilt you into refusing what she's chosen to give. I thought of the house, the one I'd visited as a child, where Ruth had kept lemon cookies in a tin and let me read on her porch swing, where no one had ever asked me to fetch drinks or adjust the lighting or apologize for my dress, where I had been simply welcome. I'll think about it, I said, but I already knew. I would take the house. Not for the asset, but for the meaning, for Ruth's seeing, for my own. The meeting ended at 8 p.m. I rode the bus home through the darkened city, watching lights in windows, lives being lived behind glass. At my stop, I walked the 3 blocks to my townhouse and found Robert waiting on my steps. I tried to call, he said. Your phone was off. Do not disturb. I sat beside him, not inviting him in, not sending him away. What happened now? Chloe lost the baby. The words hit like physical force. I felt them in my chest, my throat, my hands. When? Monday night, after she saw you. She went to the hospital with cramps. They couldn't stop it. He was crying, I realized. Robert, who had witnessed everything and chosen to tell me. She's saying it's your fault, the stress, the abandonment, Mom's telling everyone you killed your niece. I sat with that, the accusation, the magnitude of it, the way my family had always made me responsible for their pain, their choices, their consequences. Is that why you're here? I asked. To tell me I'm a murderer? He shook his head, wiped his face. I'm here because I don't believe it. Because Chloe has had 3 miscarriages before this one, and no one talks about it. Because she's been drinking caffeine and eating deli meat and doing everything her doctor told her not to, and no one called her irresponsible. Because you're the only one who ever actually helped her, and now you're the villain, and I can't stand watching it anymore. I looked at my cousin, this man I barely knew, who had seen more clearly than my own parents. What do you want from me, Robert? Nothing. He stood, brushed off his pants. I just wanted you to know that someone knows the truth, that you didn't do this, that you were right to leave. He walked down my steps, turned at the sidewalk, and I'm sorry for not saying it sooner, for watching your whole life and staying quiet. I sat on my steps until he disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside, locked the door, and sat on my gray couch in the dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't make tea. I sat with the news, the baby, the accusation, the final weight of my family's narrative. Chloe had lost a child. I had lost a family. Neither loss was mine to manage. At 11 p.m., I turned my phone off Do Not Disturb, one message from an unknown number. Ruth's landline, Maya, it's your grandmother. I heard about the baby. I know what they're saying. Come see me Saturday, not for them, for us. I read it 3 times for us. 2 words that meant more than every family first speech I'd ever heard. I typed back, I'll be there. Then I sat in my quiet house in my darkness and I felt something I couldn't name. Not peace exactly, not grief. The space where those things might eventually live once the dust settled. Once I learned who I was without the role I'd been assigned. The catering contract was paid. The dispute was filed. The locks, digital and emotional, had been changed. And somewhere in Georgia, an old woman who had seen me clearly was waiting to tell me what came next. I went to bed. I slept without dreaming. In the morning, I made coffee, opened my laptop, and began the work of my actual life, the one I was building, finally, with my own hands.